What do I do for a living? Well, for a living I do journalism. I work for the Economist, where I write about Russia, former Soviet Union. I realized that you need to have a connection, personal connection to it. I was born in '71. I was very lucky. I was very privileged. I grew up in a wonderful family of Russian intelligentsia. Well, I went to drama school studying theatre history. I wanted to be a director then, but you had to have life experience, and I had none. I think people understood that the late 70s and 80s was in some way a golden era for liberal intelligentsia. You know, the Soviet leadership was an embarrassment to when I was growing up. It was a subject of jokes and feeling, freedom is coming from inside Russia. Happiness of the country opening up and an incredible hunger for contacts with the outside world. There was a student theatre festival. Theatre groups from around Europe and the world started coming to Moscow. Ingmar Bergman, his productions of Frau Julie and Hamlet with Peter Stromare. Peter Brook came with A Cherry Orchard, and we would just do anything to meet these people. It's just we wanted to talk. And it was a very rare moment when I felt proud of where I was coming from. I mean, nobody thought the Soviet Union would collapse, and I'm still very grateful. I once actually thanked Gorbachev for it. He said, what? Nobody ever thanks him for anything. 91, 92, I went to study in England. And then I came back a foreign correspondent in my own country. It's a strange position to be in. Not knowing really what would happen next. And then, I was covering the war in Georgia when, in contrast to how I felt in '88, when I felt proud of where I was coming from, I was ashamed. Hugely ashamed. I remember that feeling in Georgia where I came with my passport, showed my passport at the border in Georgia, and a young Georgian woman, a young Georgian border guard, passport controller, looked at my passport, and it was a British passport, but clearly with a Russian name. And I could see sort of feelings, there was a struggle inside her. And she kind of looked up and she said to me in Russian, "Добро пожаловать в Грузию. Welcome to Georgia." And I could barely talk. I mean, it was an incredible moment. And then the war in Ukraine, of course, started. I remember this moment. I went on a protest march in Moscow, anti-war, and then I went back from the protest anti-war march to my children's concert, and the audience, the auditorium was filled with children, and my kids sang their grandfather's song. Suddenly acquired this incredible resonance because it was also an anti-war song, which I never thought it could. And I felt incredibly angry when I realized that Putin is sort of appealing to the worst instincts in people. Okay, my children will have a privilege and good fortune to live in England, but what about all the children in this auditorium? They've been taken hostage, effectively, by a kleptocratic Russian elite. So I would still like to think that the Kremlin and Russia are not the same things. That we all wanted Russia to be a country where we could live in and where our children could live.